Fully online, and today we're going to talk about how to write the introduction section of the manuscript. So all this information about the introduction is going to be under assignments. Assignments is where all the parts of the manuscript are actually assigned. And so when you click on assignments, you see the different pieces, and you'll have video walkthroughs for these as well, which you're watching right now. And then you'll see a Turnitin prompt here, which is basically how you're going to upload your document as a PDF file, so that I can put it through Turnitin and then be able to grade it and give you feedback. And then once I grade all these sections, there's 4 sections: the introduction, the method, the discussion, and then finally the title, abstract, and references. Once you submit all 4 sections and I've given you feedback, you're then going to compile the final revised paper at the end of the semester. And that'll be your final paper or final manuscript for this class. So today we're going to talk about the introduction. How do we write the introduction? So we upload it here once you're done writing it, but to find out how we actually write the introduction, we're going to go to this writing the introduction PDF. And here we have writing the introduction. Paragraphs 1 and 2. So the total for the introduction is going to be 8 paragraphs. That's going to take between 2 or 3 pages, depending on how large the paragraphs go. Could even be a little bit longer than that. You do not want to write like a 10-15 page introduction, because that'll break out of this format. So you want to keep to the format that I've given you, just so that it's organized and I can give you some decent feedback on it and it's not repetitive. So keep it at 8 paragraphs, please. Part of this course is following the directions, and if you follow the directions, you're generally going to have a good chance to do well at the end of the course. If you don't follow directions and you decide you want to just write whatever you want to write, then there's going to be problems. So please, if I say 8 paragraphs, I mean 8 paragraphs. Please give me what I ask for. Paragraphs 1 and 2. Define the problem. Introduce the topic that you're studying. So the current topic that we're studying as a class is we're doing research into COVID. And many of you may be tired of COVID, but unfortunately COVID is still here. It's still making people sick, still causing problems, still killing people. Will it ever revert back to something that we kind of ignore, like the flu? It's possible in the years to come, but right now COVID is still having an impact, even though many people don't care about COVID anymore. You do have to care about it if people are sick or they're elderly, they have pre-existing medical conditions. Then you can have really severe outcomes with COVID, even with vaccination. So COVID's there. It's not just the flu, it's worse than the flu, and it's something we have to pay attention to, even if we're tired of it. So the first 2 paragraphs is introduce the topic of COVID, why it's important. And since we're studying behavioral responses to COVID, you want to also indicate sort of along the lines of that it's important that we know about COVID, how it spreads, how we can prevent it, because it's killing a lot of people still, and it poses a significant health threat. And it's also extremely contagious. You can put all of that or some of that into sort of the first 2 paragraphs, where you're defining what is the problem, which is COVID. We're studying the behavioral correlates of COVID, or factors that influence how people behave in response to COVID, and why that's important. You do not need to cite studies in the first 2 paragraphs. If you want to cite studies, you can, but you're not required to cite the studies. It's just kind of a broad overview of the topic and why the topic's important. It provides like a gentle introduction to like more specific studies that you're going to come up with. So those are the first 2 paragraphs defining the problem. Paragraph 3 through 7 is going to be about the research that has been done, or the literature review basically, into COVID and behavioral aspects of COVID. These five paragraphs should be based on the five hypotheses I've provided you at the end here, which is our hypotheses. So you want one paragraph for each of the five different hypotheses. So the first one is empathy will be positively correlated with mask wearing. Then you have people receiving COVID vaccine or more empathic than those not receiving the vaccine. Health anxiety will be positively correlated with a fear of future pandemics. People have lost friends and family to COVID will have higher levels of depression and anxiety. And finally, attachment anxiety will be positively correlated with the desire for family and friends to be vaccinated. So these are your five hypotheses, and vaccination includes things like booster shots. It's not just the original two vaccines. Are people still getting booster shots or not? And why not? Or why yes, why no? That's interesting to find out as well, because these original vaccines, we don't know how long they're going to last. It's expected that they kind of wane in terms of the immunity that they provide over time. So, should you get a booster? Why should you get a booster? Why are you not getting a booster? That's important information to know, because boosters protect people, but there's a lot of pushback against boosters. There's a lot of cynicism about booster shots. A lot of it's fear of the unknown. A lot of it is anti-government rhetoric. But that's still very important to know what's preventing people from doing this. And vaccination, the booster shots have dropped tremendously. People are just not getting them. And as a result, people are getting COVID. And some people are like, COVID's not a big deal. It's nothing. And other people are getting COVID and they're getting very sick. So, and it's not just age related. Yes, in general, older people tend to get more sick than younger people. But there are plenty of younger people that are getting very sick from COVID. Maybe they're not dying at the rate that they were before, but that is mainly due to antivirals that are administered in the hospital. These people are still getting very sick. So we need to sort of keep this in mind. That's part of the reason why it's important to study these things. Even if we're kind of sick of it or we don't believe, it's like the flu. Yeah, but like the flu, we got so many people in the hospital. You don't have that many people in the hospital for the flu. It's a little different than the flu. Okay, so like I said just previously, we need 5 paragraphs. So paragraphs 3 to 7 are the literature review. Each paragraph should deal with each one of these 5 hypotheses. So you have 5 hypotheses, you need 5 studies. So go out and find one article dealing with each of these 5 hypotheses and summarize it. That's paragraph 3 through 7. So you need 5 articles. And these are not websites. These are legitimate articles that are either found through the library website, Google Scholar, or PsycInfo PsycArticles. So I don't care how you get it. You can get it through Google Scholar. You can get it through PsycInfo, PsycArticles. But please make sure you get 5 different articles dealing with these. Now, the articles may not be directly 100% related to each of these 5 hypotheses, but they should be touching on these 5 hypotheses or components of these hypotheses. For example, you may not find an article that just talks about health anxiety and future pandemics, but you'll find something related to future pandemics and anxiety. So do the best you can to find an article for each of these 5 as closely related as possible. So that means read the abstract, see if it's related. Do not pay for any articles. Because you can find easily 5 free articles. Do not pay for anything. Because sometimes if the library doesn't have it, it brings you to a website that says you want to pay $30 for this article. Don't do that. But you should have 5 articles for these 5 hypotheses. So that's paragraphs 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is similar to how you wrote up discussion board 2, where I asked you to summarize 2 articles. This is the same kind of format. Right, it's one large paragraph for each of the 5 studies, resulting of each of these 5 hypotheses, or describing each of these 5 hypotheses. So that's 3 through 7. Paragraph 8 is simple. It's as simple as can be. Just state these, just copy these 5 hypotheses down in a paragraph form. So the following 5 hypotheses will be tested. The first hypothesis is that empathy will be correlated with mask wearing. You can do it that way, in a paragraph form. Do not list anything, in a paragraph form, these 5 hypotheses. Very simple. Don't add anything else. That's paragraph 8. And once you're done with that, you're done. Now, a couple caveats on writing up the literature review. So when you're writing these 5 paragraphs summarizing each of the 5 articles related to these hypotheses. So when you're writing these literature reviews of these studies, please cite author, comma, date. Make sure you paraphrase. Do not use direct quotes ever. So in psychological research, we do not use direct quotes. It's almost, unless you're quoting some famous author, which almost never happens, you're not using direct quotes. So please get used to paraphrasing like you did in discussion board 1. Put the material in your own words and then give credit to the author. So put the material in your own words and then in parentheses put author, comma, year. Do not use quotation marks ever. No direct quotes are allowed. So keep that in mind. Also, when you cite, you do not need to give the entire article. So you don't have to say, in the journal article, empathy as related to, for instance, in the journal article, empathy related to COVID vaccination status. Let's say that's the title of the article. You do not need to write that whole title of the article when you're describing the study. Instead, just provide the authors and the year. So if the authors are Smith and Marks, 2021, you're going to write, in an article by Smith and Marks, 2021, in parentheses, there was a relationship between empathy and vaccine status. So what I'm saying is when you're describing the studies and writing the summary of the studies, you do not need to write the article titles. That's one mistake that I see all the time. People are writing the entire article titles in the citations. You do not want to do that. The article titles will be at the reference page. So anyone that wants to know what article you're referring to will go to the reference page, find the authors, and then find the article title. You do not need to write the article title out in the literature review. So please do not do that. Please do not write the entire article titles out when you're citing a study. Just write author, comma, year. That's all you have to do. And paraphrase. Put in your own words. It's important that you put everything in your own words because otherwise it's considered plagiarism. And the Turnitin will tell me how much of this is in your own words or not. So do not copy and paste anything, especially anything off the internet, because I will know about it and it will be a miserable grade, if not a 0. So do not do that. Just make sure you read the 5 different articles and put things in your own words. Summarize in your own words as best as you can. The other issue is do not use I, do not use we, do not use are, they, them. This is inappropriate for a scientific manuscript. When you write with I, it sounds like you're writing a blog entry. So you don't want to do that. We, are, they, them. It's too impersonal. You're writing a scientific paper here, not a blog, not a journal. So do not use those things. We, I, are, they, them, you, your. That's not appropriate. So that's another common issue that people have. And then stick with the format. 8 paragraphs like I described. Not hard to do. Find the 5 articles that are related to the 5 hypotheses. Summarize them. Cite them. And that's basically it. Double-spaced, 1-inch margins as a PDF file. 8 paragraphs. And if you do that, you'll have a decent submission. And you'll probably do well. I mean, look, perfect scores are hard to get on the rough drafts because they're rough drafts. They're not supposed to be perfect. But if you're getting 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, that's a pretty good submission. Not 8 or 9 out of 10. It's very hard to get 10 out of 10. I do give it sometimes, but it requires a really excellent submission with almost no errors. But based on the feedback I gave you, you're then going to improve the final paper. And if you listen to the feedback I give you on the rough draft and incorporate it, you're going to have a really solid final paper that's going to boost your grade a lot. So it's important that you pay attention to the feedback, because I'm trying to help you become a better writer. And it's challenging because this is a different type of paper than you're used to writing, because it's writing a manuscript. It's a different type of paper. So you're going to make mistakes. I understand that. I want to see if you can learn from your mistakes and incorporate my feedback into the final paper when you write it up. One final thing, the introduction shouldn't have the word introduction at the top. So you're not going to write the title introduction and then, underneath that write the actual introduction section, the manuscript section. You don't write the word introduction out. You write the title of the article. So now that's going to be hard because we don't have a title of the manuscript yet. That comes at the end. But when you write your final copy, you're going to write the full title of the manuscript on the top instead of the word introduction. You're going to write the full title of the manuscript. For the rough draft that we're doing now, it doesn't matter. You can write the word introduction if you want. You can write nothing at the top of the paper. But for the final copy, you must write the full title of the manuscript at the top of the introduction page. And that's pretty much it. I think once you've done this, you've written the 8 paragraphs out. You save it as a PDF file. You go here where it says introduction. You click on this. You submit it. You upload your introduction section as a PDF file, and then I will grade them and give you feedback, and then you'll be able to incorporate that into the final paper. You don't have to worry about the dates here. I have to change this date. There's a couple of dates here where I have to change from the fall semester. Just completely ignore that. The introduction is due by this date. This is the correct date. So please make sure you complete it by that date. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to help you. And hopefully this explains how to write the introduction section and you feel comfortable with it. But if you don't, send me an email. Let me know what's going on, and I will try to help you the best I can. I will not read copy after copy. So if you want to send me like 5 versions of your introduction, please don't. I just can't read copy after copy after copy like this. If you have suggestions or if you have questions and you need help with that, I'm happy to help with that. But I'm not just going to edit your paper multiple times before you submit it. You do get a rough draft and you do get a final paper, right? So I'm reading everything. But if I were to read everybody's section like 4 or 5 times, it would just be, it's just not possible. I wish I could do that, but it's just not possible. So please just send me the one submission and not multiple versions of the same paper asking me, does this look good? Does this look good? Does this look good? Ask me questions. I'm happy to help, but I can't be your copy editor for all of your submissions. I hope you understand that. So hopefully this video helps you. If you have questions, like I said, let me know. If not, I will see you online for our next video, which will be on method section coming up in a few weeks. And hope all is well. Talk to you soon.